Hey everyone, hey, welcome back to yet another installment of a hugely staggering series, and that isn't because, we don't want it to be, it is because Doomsday Clock is a ridiculously slow-paced series, and I would lie to you, dear listeners, if I was saying I really truly remember what happened, and I think that's partly at fault because it's quite a boring, insipid tale that we'll get to, which I think this issue perfectly exemplifies, but also because, as I say, there are these weeks, there are these months. I think it has been about 3 months since I last spoke to my co-host, General, but Deff, how's it going, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. How's it going, listeners? Thanks for checking out the video. Much appreciated, as always. And hope you enjoy the episode. We've got some right treats for you lined up when we just completely rip everything to shreds.
And we are debuting this new thing now. So if you're watching this on YouTube, which obviously you are, we'll try and follow along with the comic as we do. That's what we do pretty much every episode. But, just if you've got it at hand, definitely refer to it. And I said to you before we went on air, Def, I'm not really a superhero guy to discuss throughout the show and whatever. And, I buy comic books here and there. I am actually going to buy the Doomsday Clock hardcover. Not because I, love it as this great piece of fiction, which it's not. But just to fucking, more easily make sense of it. Nice. It's such a fractured tale that here in issue 10, again, just takes a complete right turn in terms of pacing.
Yeah, it's a bit... it might be better once you digest it. You never know. Mm-hmm. Might be worse. You might be like, oh, it's even
probably
worse.
Be way worse. Probably
I'm seeing all of the faults. Now I remember what's happening. I remember how bad it is.
Yeah. But, this is going to be one of those series that perpetuates on... I said to you before, one of my fascinations at the moment is watching people who have giant omnibus collections, giant graphic novel collections, and they always have the absolute editions, and I'm sure this will be collected in one of those. This is, of course, if you're not aware, and a quote-unquote official Watchmen sequel, but it is a butchering of the source material. And, let's just get into it. The cover itself, Nathaniel Dusk, the series' very own Black Freighter type narrative, meta-narrative. Did this inspire much confidence, this cover?
Yeah, it did actually. It's very well drawn. It's got a sort of noir feel to it. Yep. I've totally forgot about Nathaniel Dusk, and then I picked it up, looked at this, and was like, oh yeah, Nathaniel Dusk. Mm-hmm. So, not probably the best thing to open chapter 10 with, but I actually, a bit of a spoiler right now, but I actually probably prefer this out of the entire run. It's probably, I've gotten my notes here, it's my favourite issue, but I can't actually remember anything that happened in it because I read it last week. I've been ill, listeners. I've had a really sore throat. If you've been watching some of the videos on the channel, I've been croaking through my 10-minute videos, so I didn't really want to do a full hour one, which is why I was so late.
Yeah.
But I can't remember. I read it last week and I can't remember what the hell happened in it. So it's going to be another great episode, guys.
It's like these issues are fucking covered in tachyons or whatever that thing that blocks Dr. Manhattan's time vision on. I can't recollect it. Just recently I got Future Shocks, which you mentioned before, that Alan Moore sort of started on, these 2000 AD mini things, a collection of that. So many of those are really memorable tales that I won't forget. This I will. The cover, we always speak about the covers on Watching the Watchmen as well. There are details on spotting that I didn't see before. Is that an Ozymandias sort of inversion in the window?
Maybe.
Or an owl, maybe?
Yeah, it's sort of, it's quite a nice little...
Yeah.
It's it's got a weird shape to it, isn't it? And the thing is, Gary Frank's artwork is brilliant, as always.
Oh yeah, always.
It's glow in that window, and I tell you what, I bet that's bloody hard to do when you colour and stuff in.
I'm gonna say some horrific things about Geoff Johns as we get through, but I want to just keep Gary Franks out of it. I admire this guy hugely. The image to me, as with so much of Doomsday Clock, it's a little bit on the nose. There's a little bit too much narrative here that the Watchmen covers kind of lack, that you pan out from. We got a dame in the doorway. We know from the colouring, from the style, it's Nathaniel Dusk, who I most remember him as old Mothman in the nursing home. I think kind of had visions of him and stuff.
Yeah, he's sort of been in the background of everything, really, hasn't he? And in the form of a TV show. And this issue opens with telling the opposite side of that TV show. So you see the actors, You sort of learn about the story of this actor, Carver Coleman, who was betrayed. But every time we've seen him, it's just been like a little tiny tidbit. So he's had so little coverage that by the 10th issue, I'm not really that invested in what could happen to him. I know it's significant somehow, but beyond being just a supporting character, I don't actually know how much he really means in the entire arc. Like the Black Freighter, at this point, there'd been quite a lot of coverage on it, so you were more interested in it, whereas this has just been always in the background. So do I care? I kind of got the feeling when reading this that he wouldn't be necessary anyway, and yeah, I don't care about this in the story, to be honest. We had a massive cliffhanger at the end of the last issue, and we've got to wait again. We've waited 3 months or whatever for the next issue, and we've got to wait again and read through this crap. I'm sick of it.
It's like when Woody drives over, jumps over the canyon with Bullseye. It has that saying. Well, actually, it's nothing like that because it's absolute codswallop. It is just what I loved about the Black Freighter stuff was it played into the whole pirate idea in a superhero world, which is brilliant. That we discussed on old episodes, stuff like that. But it was quite an original fictional form to explore the kind of pirate, penny paperback. But we've seen so many. It's such a trope. Think about Home Alone. Think about The Fade Out, which I've said before, Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, one of my all-time favorite graphic novels. Again, that's kind of like a noir fake film. The noir reflects reality. It's just a lazy crutch, I think, to fall on. That's easy to do this kind of sneering, Runyon-esque dialogue. Yeah,
definitely. And I've also been thinking about, I hope we don't get demonetized for you saying codswallop, Tom. You've got me stressing out now. But yeah, I don't really care, to be honest, at this point. It is really well written. Well, really well drawn. Sorry, wow. It's quite well paced. The dialogue is good. And it does have like a timeless. I don't know. It has a timeless feel to it. Yeah. But I don't know why it's in the comic. And as we discover Carver Coleman's backstory, I still don't really know why. So from here, we cut to Dr. Manhattan after we've seen Carver Coleman get betrayed. Bloody hell, I'm having to scroll through it now, Tom, and I tell you what, it goes on forever, that Carver Coleman shite.
It's there a lot. I mean, just quickly, the 9-grid constraint, I think, is something that will work for you if you're more esque and can really deliver on it. But here, it's a little empty, we get her picking up a box, going down, sultry, and it's just a little developing into the main scene in the background. But yeah, we go through his life. And I guess, this is the purpose of him, is it? I read this to a certain extent, that his timeline was always the same, maybe. Like, there seemed to be because this whole issue, to go to more of a macro idea, is exploring the kind of mechanics of... personally, Def, what I hated Bonner Comics, I don't give a fuck about your alternate reality time verse shit. Tell a good story.
It's so overdone right now as well.
We need 3 acts, we need character development.
Yeah, the alternate timeline thing, it's getting really overdone.
You've gone off the edge.
You've went too far.
I respect you, but he has gone crazy. He's in it, I think.
Yeah.
He draws himself like...
Now we've had Avengers Endgame, everything's going to go off into an alternate timeline, and it's just going to be everywhere.
That's true.
I love Endgame, but...
Endgame was great.
Not many people can match that level.
Honestly, I think Endgame will probably win Best Picture.
Really?
I can see that happening. I can see that happening in like a kind of, Return of the King.
Well, yeah, Black Panther got nominated for Best Picture.
Oh, I thought Black Panther was awful.
It's all right. It's not Best Picture material, I don't think.
No.
I think that was kind of the Oscars trying to be down with the kid. Because basically the Oscars is no one's watching them anymore, really. No one's watching a 4-hour-long Oscar show, especially when the next day you can just open your phone, look on Facebook, and all the winners straight away. So they need to pull in the new audience, and they were like, what's really popular? It's Black Panther. I tell you what, we're nominating it for Best Picture. Obviously it wasn't
like 10 that year as well. Yeah. It was a given, really. But yeah, Doc Manhattan arrives, as you say, kind of in a similar way to Marriott and Mime that we've seen before. We've obviously seen him at the Gila Flats base as well. I love this atom bomb entrance he has.
Yeah, it's great. And he just kind of, every time he shows up, he kind of rocks the landscape in the comic, which is great. It's a nice entrance. He kills a policeman, though, doesn't he? Yeah. By the looks of it. Carver Coleman just so happens to be there. And you kind of seeing him sort of looking very sad on Mars. He doesn't know what time it is. He's sort of got dementia in a way. Mm-hmm. And he's just beaten the band of superheroes that were sent last time. Like, obviously, these guys are your B and your C-listers that you send to show that the villain's very powerful. But I really think they should have sent, like, one of the big three. Between Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman to demonstrate this. Like, obviously, Superman couldn't because he's now tied too deeply into punching Dr. Manhattan. Batman is far too weak to punch
He's
Dr.
been damaged,
Manhattan.
in the Firestorm Putin blast,
I think Wonder Woman, right now, she's arguably DC's most popular character, if you were just to ask the general public. I think they should have sent her to show that he's being feared, because, again, it's a trope to, you kill off one of the minor characters at the start to kind of show that the guy's really powerful and stuff. And you're like, whoa, how's Superman going to do it? But yeah, not that engaging.
Yeah, I mean, there is a playfulness with John's depiction of Manhattan that I appreciate. I wonder if that is why it was drawn here, he asks as well, in the panel. I see myself on Mars, or is that now?
What time is it?
I love the, you see this in every comic book ever, the hurt superhero stance, where they're like on their knees, or in this case, kind of unconscious, but their arms up, like.
Yeah, very good.
We see it, kind of out of stamina.
It's also paid lip service to here that this is part of the multiverse, and thus we know for definite now that Dr. Manhattan didn't create the DC universe. He journeyed to it, but he didn't create it. So there's been lots of fan theories that in the New 52, Dr. Manhattan sort of created the DC universe. But we know for definite, Tom, now. So tell the people in the comments to shut up. I'm sick of reading stupid comments.
A lot of the comic death, as we push on, is Manhattan and the actor, I've already forgot his name. I'm not going to go back and read what his name is.
CC.
CC. I mean, naturally, he's below the main message and he's a bit anonymous. But as I say,
he's got alliteration in his name, though, like all good comic book characters do.
Yeah, exactly. And, it's quite nice, actually. I do like the aspect to it where it's like, okay, if you met Manhattan, he could legit say, oh, yeah, you'll die this day, you'll marry this person, you'll stub your toe in this microsecond, and he speaks to someone and reveals what the fate is. Or does he conjure the fate as well, or?
Maybe.
I don't.
Yeah, it's kind of fate versus free will, this issue, I feel. And one thing I picked up, which I thought I was dead clever for noticing, but it actually happens in the issue, was that he arrived in 1938, which comic book wise is really close to the creation of Superman.
Sure.
Which kind of plays into the end. But when I was reading this, I was like, yes, I'm so smart. But they also have Werner Brothers, and that's sort of a tie into Warner Brothers, who obviously own DC at this point, and are running it into the ground, depending on how you look at it. And they got this dino where it's revealed that Dr. Manhattan can't look into the future, or something. He's saying he can't look into the future, basically. But I never took it as him being able to look into the future. I always just thought he was sort of all time for him was happening at once, and due to his connection to the tachyons, he could see time cyclically instead of just in a straight line. But no, apparently, Tom, he's a fortune teller.
Yeah, he just... It's quite nice that he has to focus on one thing, perhaps, but the explanation for the, dearth of his powers isn't really scoped onto. And the whole sequence with the backing of the chairs, I know it wants to be cute, but it's kind of redundant.
I did quite like the rise and fall of Carver Coleman.
Sure. I mean, a little played out, though, right? Crash and burn.
And especially when there's that bit where he's sitting alone.
Yeah.
Sitting alone. What happened? but you sort of get the feeling that because he tells Nathaniel Carver Coleman, CC,
Oh, and he
tells him that he's going to die, and that sort of sends him off the deep end.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's, this fate versus choice thing that's always been a nice debate in the Watchmen series. So yeah, nice little scene. It got me interested in Carver Coleman at this point.
Leaving the photo behind, though. Come on.
Yeah, come on, Doc.
Don't do that.
What's wrong with you? But then, Tom,
boom. Storytelling.
Cut to the green car from...
What? Comics, stop wanking yourself off. Like,
what?
You know what I mean? We don't need you to mythologize Superman in a cornfield again. Like,
we're definitely getting demonetized now, Tom.
It's so self-serving. Like, it's just I don't know. It's just it's so done. I've seen this before.
Yeah, comics are so self-referential.
They love themselves, but
they love it. Anything they can do. I want one of them, right? I want a DC comic one day to reference the Marvel universe. I'd love that.
That would be fire.
That would be like...
They've fought, though, haven't they? They have met quite a few times.
Yeah, there's an amalgam series. Actually, Tom, funny story. When I used to be in high school, they actually had loads of amalgam graphic novels in the school library. So me and my friends one day, we knew they were worth a bit of bob. We went in. One of us stood with her backpack on, reading a book, not looking suspicious, and the other one just took the amalgam books off the library shelf, put them in the backpack, zipped it up, and we walked out. So I've got about 5 of them. You'll never catch me, copper. But they've gone to a better place, Tom. They weren't getting read in that library. That's how I tell myself to sleep at night. So yeah, you get the famous car from Action Comics, which is obviously the issue that Superman debuted in.
Yep.
Very famous cover of him lifting a green car above his head,
iconic,
smashing it into a rock as robbers run by. And because of this didn't happen in the current DC timeline. You get mention that the DC universe is splitting into alternate timelines from this point. We'll also get the origins, as told by Dr. Manhattan, of the Silver Age superheroes such as Alan Scott, Jay Garrick, Dr. Fate. And you know what? I like comics, so I did enjoy this. I know they're wanking each other off, or whatever you said, but I liked it. So shut the hell up.
I'm too much of a Moore fan. I've read too much of the Black Dossier by League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, where he parodies superhero origins. This stuff is too earnest, personally, and I've always felt DC's heroes pale aesthetically to Marvel. I don't give a fuck about Hawkman. I've always felt badly designed.
I do probably prefer the DC heroes just because I find them sort of more iconic. Marvel are really popular at the moment just because of how relatable that the heroes are, whereas DC heroes you can't relate to a multi-billionaire, you know what I mean, who lives in a mansion with a butler. But your local friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, he's just swinging about the streets trying to do good. Can relate to that a bit. I picked up some litter the other day, Tom, and put it in the bin. So you know what I mean, we're all doing our part. Can't relate to what Batman does, but I probably prefer, Batman's my favourite. Probably Iron Man's a close second right now,
Shout out Demon in a Bottle.
Basically, Iron Man in the MCU is everything that I wanted Batman to be in the DC universe, the movies.
Yeah. True.
Loads of gadgets, loads of telling people to fuck off. He's like, yeah, fuck yourself. There's no kids listening to this show, is there, Tom?
It's unlikely. It's unlikely by now. I mean, I don't want to wade too far into these waters because I don't really know what I'm talking about. But the timeline's being changed.
Yeah.
The fabric of the DC multiverse is being redefined.
Yeah.
From what I gather, again, not really au fait with these stories, but Crisis, Flashpoint, 0 Hour, a lot of things are kind of a bit like Blackest Night that I know is a big Johns arc that he tied a lot of stuff together to. This is quite ambitious on that front.
Yeah, it's sort of saying that basically because DC love resetting the clock all the time, and obviously you can get really invested in stories, and then for some new hot young writer to come along and be like, that story didn't happen, you dickhead.
Yep.
We're doing a new one. Your stuff sucks. You listen to me now. It's annoying people. There's so many reboots. I mean, there was the new 52 and then Rebirth a couple of years later. And this is just kind of saying, look, guys, all your favourite stuff, it did happen. So there is a reason to go back and buy all those old books because they're worth reading. And you get the Minutemen photograph as well, kind of a play on that, which I quite liked.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, definitely.
You get the Kent Farm Origins of Superman. Yeah.
You do get that.
I've seen that a million times. Death of Superman's parents. Yeah. But also some of them are alive in another timeline. Mm-hmm. And they all kind of pivot around this one person, which is Superman. Everyone's favourite hero 40 years ago. He's not popular anymore, but DC haven't realised. So no, I do quite like Superman.
All-Star Superman, I love.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah. Depending on who's writing him, he's great.
He can be a great character, definitely, but here, he's kind of like all-American winning, isn't he? Like, he's the beating heart of the universe, it seems, the metaverse.
Yeah, definitely. He's the basically started superheroes off.
Sure.
You can't deny it. Superman is the most important comic book character of all time, because without him, you don't get Polka Dot Man, you don't get Crazy Quilt, you definitely don't get Zebra Man.
Sure. So
you need Superman around to make sure that those heroes are invented. And I know you're hating it. I put in my notes here, it masterfully, I think, retells the history of Superman and all his different reincarnations and rebirths over the years, and how he will forever be a symbol of hope, and even the one now will soon be outdated and part of a legacy that works in a cycle. So it's coming back to this notion that time's cyclical, everything's repeating. But Dr. Manhattan, he can't handle it, Tom. He's really annoyed at it, so he starts altering the DC universe, which we discover is the metaverse. And this is why the new 52 creation was attributed to him, and also Rebirth. However, the universe fights back in the form of Wally West, who was very notably missing from the new 52 run before he came back in Rebirth to basically warn everyone. Dr. Manhattan, he created the metaverse, Tom. What do you think about that? What do you think about Doc kind of just going to these comics and just fucking around? Not what I love is he doesn't really know what he's doing. He's like, I keep mentioning I'm a web designer by trade. Sometimes I have to go into stuff into code and stuff. I've got no idea what I'm doing, and I'm just randomly fucking around and hoping that it works out. Mm-hmm. Which Dr. Manhattan, he loves it, but he's going to get punched in the face for it, Tom. Which is also what happens at my work.
Sometimes people think in scripts of answers to questions you've had for a long time, I guess, especially in comics, and they have a certain perspective on it that I do think delightful. I do think it's delightful. I have to agree that Manhattan viewing every reality, and every reality being a reboot of DC, is that's so good.
Yeah, definitely. He's sick of all these reboots, Tom, isn't he?
Yeah.
This is why
he looks at
Men in
Batman
Black's
and he sees him he sees Grant Morrison, he sees Tom King,
Yeah, he's just sick of it. Everyone's sick of reboots, I tell you, Tom. Mm-hmm. June, right? It's been the worst month for movies in a long time. Godzilla bombed.
Right.
Men in Black bombed. What else? Toy Story's not doing that well. It's doing all right, but it's not doing as well as expected. Chucky's bombing right now. Dark Phoenix, X-Men.
Oh, horrible, yeah.
He's sick of it, Tom. We're all sick of it, and he's just like, I'm sick of this shit. I'm changing it. But in doing it, he's ruining it as well. He's like fan outcry.
And it is building up. It is funneling towards, at its bottom, Superman versus Dr. Manhattan, and we get some straight up them eviling each other.
What I love is that Superman just sees him and runs over to punch him.
Yeah,
and that's it. That's the entire thing. There's no reason why these two characters dislike each other. I'm sorry, but there's no reason for it. Other than Dr. Manhattan's beaten the C-listers who are Superman's mate. You know what I mean? Like, there's no real reason for any of this fight to happen at this point. This is Batman v Superman all over again. There's no motivation for it. There's no real reason for them to fight. They're just having it out because comic fans, woo! We gotta see a fight. That's what they're like, Tom. They're scumbags. I tell you that for free. They better not still be listening at this point. I'll be fuming if they've heard me just call them all scumbags. That's my channel over if that's the case.
And like, Moore would sometimes do symmetry in paneling so brilliantly, like in the Black Freighter, etc. But here we pretty much have a like for like as we segue back into Nathaniel Dusk, Carver Coleman land, which again I'm not interested in. I'm not really interested in this multiverse war either. But there's no momentum, is there? There's no real forward movement in actually the story.
Yeah, I mean, basically Carver dies. He's killed by his mother and her associate. Like, John knew this, but he doesn't step in. And again, it kind of...
Vietnam, hello.
Yeah, he sort of narrates how removed he is and how he doesn't really care. And he's not really willing to help anyone. He sort of does nothing. He's an observer. He is the villain because he's a pacifist. He's always just been in action, though. And yeah, so I don't really know why this makes the character interesting. It's like your hero and your villain, they should be basically... I suppose they are kind of polar opposites. Superman's a man of action from Action Comics #1, and Dr. Manhattan's a pacifist. But I don't really care anymore. Just get it over with, Johns.
Can they satisfyingly wrap up so many loose ends? Like, we're thinking of like Rorschach Jr., we're thinking of Mime and Marionette, Ozzy, so many characters.
Maybe that's why they've left it so long, because they just hope that people will forget and just remember it as being about Superman vs. Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Unfortunately...
I post really bad stuff on my channel all the time, and I just hope people forget.
They fuck it, and like a character with their eyes closed, opening them, ending anything is so done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that happens in so many episodes of so many shows.
Everything.
Oh my god!
It's always the cliffhanger. Like, what? They woke up.
It's always them in bed as well. Didn't Superman have a dream of Dr. Manhattan in the first issue?
Yeah, and that's how that issue ended.
Yeah,
and I tell you what, Tom, I watch a lot of TV for my YouTube channel. And the amount of cliffhangers that are basically someone in bed waking up going, yeah, it's not good. Last one I remember watching, I've rewatched Game of Thrones from season 1, and after Bran gets pushed out of the window, that's how one of the episodes picks up with Bran waking up. It's like, what is he going to tell everyone about Jaime Lannister and Cersei? And again, it's a bit shit here. But I've got in my notes, it's a nice take and retread of the DC universe, my favourite from the run. It's a smart way to take the universe, and it's great that Johns actually managed to make sense of all the reboots and have them as one coherent thing. Which I suppose we've got to give him credit for when you think about it.
I guess so. I mean, it's just the fact that he has the gall to try and title the issues like Moore did. We've established that Moore would come up with these long quotes that were part of bigger quotes that reflected what the quote and the issue was, and it was a great tie-in. Like, think of The Judge of All the Earth, which is the Abyss Gazes also, Two Riders, which was an old classic. Look on My Work, See Mighty, which is from Ozymandias, the poem by Shelley, which is about the cat. All that's brilliant. This one's called Action. This one's literally called one word that you can dig any quote from.
Action.
Like, okay, it reflects the fact that the fucking director's there, the Fritz Lang type figure. It's actually a Socrates quote. Every action has its pleasures and its price. Oh my god, again, what is that really saying? Like, that doesn't have any inference.
Yeah, definitely. It's again,
like,
it's just a middling issue.
I don't know what that's. There's nothing enlightening about that quote.
No, it's just Googled. He's basically just Googled action.
Yeah. Action quotes.
Hyphen.
He's gone on Wiki quote and he's Googled action quotes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not doing a good job, is he?
Yeah. So
don't want to slag the lad off, but he's not doing a good job.
Well, obviously, let us know, what you think of this issue. I know a lot of people have been really positive in their reaction.
I'm looking on Comic Book Roundup now, which is basically Metacritic.
Oh, best website ever, comics.
Man. Yeah. 9.1 critic rating, and honestly, everyone's given it 10s by the looks of it. There's one, we'll do what we normally do. We'll steal someone else's content and pass it off as our own. So even the lowest score is a 7 out of 10 from Batman News.
7, the lowest.
Who says a slow burn of a beginning turns into a roll-clicking celebration of Superman. John's pacing in the first half of the issue is probably the weakest it's been the whole series, with a lot of attention paid to a person who works better as a plot device than as an actual character. Once things get going, though, it turns into a fascinating meditation on Superman's influence in the real world and on the printed page. So yeah, I think that's fair enough. What's with 10s, though? They're the best ones to read.
Yep.
Comic Crusaders, Johnny the Machine Hughes. This issue has gone a long way in giving some credibility to the storytelling of this run, with Johns essentially giving reasons for all the reboots and crises. There may be bigger implications yet to come. Don't know what that means. With issue 11 due in July, well, that's not coming out, is it? The final issue should be out by September, by which point we will be in the midst of a Leviathan and the Year of the Villain. With that in mind, I am curious to see what ramifications, if any, the Doomsday Clock will have on the DC Universe. Like, how does that get a 10 out of 10?
Yeah.
The guy's saying, I don't know what's happening. Some other stuff out this year?
Is it going to end before the end of the year?
Doubt it, Tom.
I mean, on the current schedule, I reckon the next one...
Every time I upload one of these videos, it kills the analytics on my channel.
Right.
So I friggin' hope so. I don't want to be on 100,000 subs with this stuff.
So yeah, guys, let us know what you think of the issue. Obviously, we weren't as warm to it as some of the other critics out there.
Quite a short review, wasn't it, this time?
Yeah, just, again, not too much to say about the fucking issue, man. Like, it's just... Nothing really stands out to me.
Yeah, it sucks.
But
yeah, guys, if you're still listening, it sucks.
Yep. Well, subscribe to Def's channel. Obviously, go check out all our old Watchmen episodes that we did, and we interviewed fucking John Higgins, the original colorist of Watchmen, which was definitely a highlight.
Yeah, I'm just reading the supplementary material here, Tom.
Oh yeah, I sort of skimmed through that. Yeah. There's a script which basically Dusk recounts that his wife had died and he's in his detective agency on Christmas Eve, and someone comes in with some sort of glass orb or something. It's quite anodyne stuff. Also a blood splatter about his wife being killed, and I think his children were taken away or something. But, I mean, just what you don't want an issue that has progressed like molasses. Fucking Nathaniel Dusk shit.
Yeah, it's not worth checking out, is it? Mm-hmm. Do you think you could skip this issue completely?
Oh, yeah, you could. Yeah, there's no moves made by any characters, so...
Yeah, because it's like... You sort of end with the last issue with the heroes being defeated. This issue don't really go anywhere, does it?
No, nowhere. This could have been like the third issue.
Yeah, definitely. Doesn't go anywhere. Sucks. Like, comment, subscribe.
So yeah, guys, we'll be back to do the next issue whenever that is. But Def, it's always a pleasure, bro.
It's lovely, and thanks everyone for still listening.
Thanks, guys. All right, man. That was we're
still going. It's a good night from me,
and it's a good night from Kwei.